Ladies and gentlemen, we have one of the greatest guests of all time. He is a former number one pick. He is one of 3 catchers to ever be selected to Major League Baseball's Hall of Fame on his first ballot. He also was an MVP in 2009, and he has 3 batting titles as a catcher, the only catcher to do that in Major League history. But more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to bring him to the Gridiron and Growth podcast. Please welcome Hall of Famer and great teammate of all time, Joe Mauer.
Oh, man. Ryan, thank you so much. I was hoping you were going to say one of my favorite quarterbacks, too, but, in that introduction. But, my goodness, that was very nicely done. I appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you this, and Benny, this is not a lie. I stated the facts. Those are the facts of the illustrious 15-year career of my former high school quarterback, Joe Mauer. But he is still one of the 3 best quarterbacks I ever played with, and the other 2 are Hall of Famers. We're not going to rank them, Joe, because I don't want you to hurt people's feelings.
My goodness. No, we're just going to stop that conversation right there. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, let's start with the big news. You got inducted to the Hall of Fame, the first player in Major League Baseball history ever to be inducted as a hometown kid from the hometown team for the Hall of Fame. When did you find out you were a Hall of Fame player?
Leading up to the announcement, basically they gave me a 45-minute window of when they would call or when they would not. So, you really didn't know what was going to happen. And, I was just sitting there, and I wanted to keep the group small, at my house in case that call didn't happen. And sure enough, about 15 minutes into it, my phone rang, and it said Cooperstown, New York, and just chills went down my spine. And, I had my family, my brothers there, my mom, and my wife and kids and my in-laws, and then the basement started to fill up shortly after that call. So it was unbelievable, something I'll never forget.
Well, attention isn't new for you, Joe. You were the highest ranked basketball, baseball, and football player in Minnesota in high school. How did you stay so humble and find the work ethic that made you one of the best to ever play the game of baseball?
Well, I think, Ryan, because we go back so far, you probably already know the answer to that question. It's family and that support system you have. We were very lucky to have a great support system at CDH, the high school we went to, and for me, my family, and really just had great coaches and mentors along the way to kind of keep you grounded. But I'd say it starts number one at home. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers, and if I got on a line, the big brothers will put you back in check real quick. So for me, I'm just so thankful for that support system that I had because, as you guys know, to get to the level that you guys both played at, you can't do it alone.
Joe, I'd love to just talk a little bit about what was Ryan like as a teammate in high school.
If you can remember that far back.
No, he's the best, So I'm thankful I got to play with Ryan. He was a couple years behind me at CDH, but just an unbelievable talent, as he was right there protecting my backside there, as a sophomore and I was a senior. So I wish we had more Ryan Harrises, not only as a talent level, but the person that he is. And
yeah, I want to go to one story because, as you said, Joe, we need people to help us along the way. And one story that sticks with me even to this day. Everybody listening, Benny, here I am, a sophomore, and I'm getting to go on a car ride with the Joe Mauer and our other boy, Kevin Salomon. And so I'm just nervous. I'm like, don't say anything, right? Like this is – and what Joe – we're going to get cleats. And Joe stops off and says, hey, why don't we pick up some Gatorades? So he picks up – his 2 linemen up Gatorades. I'm like, this is leadership, man. Wow, I didn't even know I wanted Gatorade. But Joe, what was important to you as not only a talented player but as a leader? And what were consistent pieces of that leadership for you, whether it was at Cretin-Durham Hall or in Major League Baseball?
Leaders need to be consistent. And for me, I'm more of a quiet guy, and I try to lead by example. But, I'm one that if I see something that's not right, I'd like to have those one-on-one conversations and pull somebody aside and have a conversation. I think communication is another big thing. Just communicating where you stand, as a player, as a teammate. But number one, just trying to go out there and knowing that you're supporting your teammates to the best of your ability and just trying to make, give you best version of yourself every single day. And I think when you do that, great things can happen.
Joe, you're polished because I can hear what type of leader you are, but I want to know, I want to dive into what was your biggest leadership struggle?
Yeah, I think number one, just thinking off the top of my head, is early in my career. I got to the big leagues really quick. I was 20 years old, and I was in a pretty important position, being a catcher. You're supposed to lead a pitching staff and going through pitches and hitters and leading those meetings. And you're 20 years old telling 35-year-olds where to throw it, when to throw it. It can be a little intimidating, but that's the one thing that I would like to talk to younger players. It's not an age thing. It's how you carry yourself. If you talk the talk, you got to walk the walk. And the thing is you go out there and just try to be the best. I said it earlier, be the best version of yourself, and stay true to who you are, and try not to be anybody different.
I totally agree with you 100% there. I think some of the best leaders and some of the best leaders that I played for, that at least that were players, weren't necessarily the big rah-rah guys. I never thought Peyton was a rah-rah guy. Eli wasn't a rah-rah guy. Demaryius Thomas, the late, great Demaryius Thomas, jersey on the back, he wasn't a big rah-rah guy. They just led by example. And
Absolutely. And you just listed, the top talent in the league. You don't have to be the best player on the team to be a leader either. That's one thing that I've learned. And, I think naturally, if your best player is a leader and is doing things, that's an easy way for people to follow. But, I've played on teams where we've had great leaders that, were bench players or, bullpen guys. And, you don't have to be the best player to be a leader. You just have to be someone that's accountable, somebody that's consistent, and somebody that, is dependable. Nick Punto, number one. He was a guy here. He's just a gritty player, great player. I mean, in his own right, great big leaguer, played in the league a long time. But a lot of guys on our team got the headlines, the Justin Morneaus or the Johan Santanas, Torrey Hunters, guys like that, which those guys were great leaders as well. But Nick Punto was a heartbeat of our clubhouse there for a long time in Minnesota. And, he was very integral part into why we were successful in those years.
Let's dive into the topic that no athlete likes, failure. How did you handle failure in your Hall of Fame career?
It's going to happen. You got to know that it's going to happen, and look at it as a learning opportunity. Everybody wants to go out there and, in the baseball sense, get a hit or hit a home run. It's just not going to happen. But you can put yourself in a position to have success. And that's what I always preach to guys. It's like, you have all this time leading up to game time. Well, did you do your game preparation? Did you do all the things that you could control to have success? And if you go out there and you don't have success, you can look yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I put myself in a great position, and go out there and have fun. And I think sometimes with the pressures that are put on athletes today, it can be challenging to do that.
how did you develop that mindset, or did you always have that? Could you always see like, okay, failure is a part of this, failure is a part of baseball?
Yeah, I think it's a learned thing. I mean, you learn over the years. And for me, I mean, I came into a situation where we had great leaders ahead of me. I mean, all the way back to high school, leading into a young Twins team that kind of went through those struggles. And when I was that 20-year-old, I had the Torrey Hunters, the Corey Koskis, the Nick Puntos, Brad Radke's. I mean, I had veteran presence, a veteran presence that would kind of take me under my wing, and I could pick up things. But the very first thing I would do, and I remember as an 18-year-old, I got to big league camp. I looked around the locker room and I was trying to see, okay, who's been here for a while? I look and see the veterans. All right, this guy's been here for 10 years. What is he doing that I should be doing so that I can be one of those guys? And that's the thing. I went in there as a young player. I kind of said, I'm going to keep my mouth shut and my ears open and just try to learn as much as I can, because ultimately that's where I wanted to be, was the big leagues. And I was able to get there and stay there for a little while.
I appreciate you saying that, Joe. I think that it makes me smile because as a rookie, as I was undrafted, as a rookie, I remember I was like, okay, Demaryius Thomas, I've watched his highlight tape, and I was his shadow for 4 years. I was like, I'm following him. That's super cool.
Yeah.
What were important things for you transitioning from one of the best catchers in the world to then playing first base?
For me, I didn't have that option. For me, it was I had concussions and kind of had to make that move. And you guys know in professional sports, usually those decisions are made for you. But for me, I looked at it as an opportunity, as a challenge to learn a new position. I was 30 years old when I made the move over to first, and hadn't really taken ground balls over there since I was probably an 18-year-old. So it was learning a new craft. And for me, I approached it as a new challenge, and I just wanted to be the best that I could for my teammates, number one, and then, for our team to ultimately win games. But fortunately enough, I was able to extend my career 5 more years and making that move. But that's the thing in life, sports teaches us a lot about life, and things happen, and it's how you react to those things is what makes, find out what we're made of.
And now you're into a different transition. Now you're transitioning out of sports, you're transitioning into the Hall of Fame, but now it's life after sports. What does that look like for you in terms of that transition and leaving sports?
For me, I've been saying yes to a lot of things I've had to say no to over the years. Number one, for me, my goal was just to spend more time with my family. It's fun. I mean, like I said, we're in a unique position where you get to retire at an early age. It's been a lot of fun.
Walk us through what it felt like for you to write the book, The Right Thing to Do.
I didn't want to do it at first. A friend of actually a mutual friend of ours, Ryan, Joe Schmidt from Channel 5 here in the Twin Cities. He approached me with the idea of a book, and I've been approached many times over the years, but I just didn't want. I thought Mike and my relationship was private and just kind of have fun. But when he first told me that all the proceeds would go to charities of our choice, then it was a little bit easier. Yes.
What'd your kids think of the book?
Yeah, they thought it was good. They love the illustrations. My 5-year-old, we read it quite a bit, and definitely proud of the product that came out.
Amen, brother. Amen. Well, here's a little BP Hall of Famer. All right, I'm warming up the
All right.
rotator cuff. All right, we're going to some quick questions. We'll do about 4 or 5, then we'll let you go. Just the first thing you think about, or just a quick answer. Who was one player that got under your skin and that you knew was going to be a battle every time you faced him?
There's a lot of them. I'd say CC Sabathia, just because I wouldn't say get under my skin, just because you knew it was going to be a tough day. He was, Hall of Famer right there. But I'd say CC gave me some fits, that's for sure.
Number one mentor.
I'd have to say my dad. He worked full time, and he always made it a priority to coach his kids and to make sure that we were good and doing the right things around town. And that's part of the reason why I, try to dedicate that book to him. Just the impact that he had on me.
Favorite victory meal after the game?
Anything tastes good after a win. After a game, to have a cold beer with the boys is always a good thing.
Hardest pitch that you struggled with?
Yeah, I'd say probably a pitcher that had a good changeup. It didn't really matter how hard you threw, but if you threw the ball and you had a big variation between your fastball and changeup, that usually gives hitters problems.
What was your internal drive that made you want to be the greatest you could be?
I just wanted to win, to be honest. I think for me, I realized I had a talent. I had athletic ability, and I wanted just to make the most of it.
Are you forcing your children to play one sport, and why not?
I am not. Yeah, I try to throw everything at my kids right now.
Love it. Joe, man, really appreciate you taking the time, man. This was great.
Hall of Fame player, Hall of Fame person, future Hall of Fame author, Joe Mauer. Thank you so much, bro.
Yeah. Thanks, fellas. I really enjoyed it.